I did something today that I never thought I would do, that I didn't even think was possible. My local cinema, which was only a couple of blocks away, closed down a couple of months ago. If you've been watching this channel, you've heard me talk about it. You've even seen video of the demolition. Um, but Mad Max Fury Road opened last night, and I wanted to see it today. And the nearest cinema that's still open is 5 miles away, and I don't have a car. That's why seeing movies is such an issue. So what happened is I made a 10-mile round-trip bike ride today just to see Fury Road, and it was worth it. And it was also no problem. I thought it would be a real problem, but I've lost so much weight recently, and I've been doing so much bike riding, and taking a 2.5 mile bike ride to the laundromat or to the recycling center, which I do regularly, has become so routine that I thought taking a 5 mile ride with a 2 hour interval between the return trip, it shouldn't be a problem, and it wasn't at all. So that was a happy experience for me just for that. But also the movie was amazing. I was really concerned that this movie was being oversold to me. I've never seen a movie getting such rave reviews. And the only people who are mad about the movie are lunatics. So I really wanted to see it. When I first heard about this movie a couple of years ago, I thought it was going to be a reboot. I thought it was going to be a do-over. And I was not interested in that. I was never interested in that. And along the way, I've been hearing about the problems with the principal shooting being delayed and all the script and editing problems over the years. And those are bad signs. Those are always really bad signs. But it was only over the last couple of weeks, as the movie was getting ready to open, that I learned that this was just another sequel, that this was movie number 4. And it's created and directed by the same guy who made the first 3 movies. So I was like, yeah, I want to see this. My other concern was that the trailers and preview clips that I've seen are really heavy on the CGI. And I was really dreading that. I was really hoping that wouldn't be a problem, and it wasn't. Pretty much all the CGI in the film was what you saw in the trailers and the clips. The rest was, I'm sure there was CGI that we weren't noticing, but all the really obvious CGI happened early in the film, and it wasn't an issue after that. In fact, the very first scene in the film, with Max standing on a promontory with his back to you, looking out over the desert, it had a CGI lizard, a little 2-headed CGI lizard in it that was obvious CGI and really gimmicky, and it didn't look good, and I was thinking, oh no, this is going to be bad. But it wasn't. There was the sandstorm with the fire tornadoes early on in the film, but other than that, CGI was not a problem. Other than that, I don't know where to start. I don't think I can say anything that other reviewers haven't already said. Jill Pantozzi used the word orgasm in her review. I would not use that word, but I certainly enjoyed the movie every bit as much as she did. And so far, I've agreed with all of my Facebook and Twitter and Tumblr friends about this movie, about just loving it wholeheartedly. And I'm never like that. I usually disagree with everybody about everything. If you're concerned about this movie, if you're wanting it to be like the other Mad Max movies, then you shouldn't be concerned. It is. You're going to get the never-ending, super violent car chases that you got in the other films. You're definitely going to get those. And like the other films, you're going to get okay, as you might have already noticed, it is thundering and raining outside. It was not like this when I took the bike ride earlier today. Otherwise, I wouldn't have taken it. As I was saying, another thing it has in common with the other movies is that it touches on important social issues without being preachy about them, without turning into a lesson. It lets you see them. It lets you absorb them. It lets you make your own decisions about them. And then it has the car chases. Like the other three films, this movie, you can tell it was made by the same guy, George Miller, by the way. You can definitely tell. And that's a good thing. It's a great thing. The world of these movies, and this latest installment carries on that tradition, the world of these movies is very severe. It's very harsh. It's very unsympathetic. And because of these things, it's very real. You can't allow yourself to get attached to anybody. And the characters in the film can't afford that luxury either. These films show the absolute worst side of humanity, and I'm afraid they're showing the reality of humanity. In a post-apocalyptic world, I don't think that a worldwide catastrophe is going to bring people together. I think it's going to drive people apart. And I think people will show their absolute worst animalistic sides. The Mad Max films don't hold anything back. As far as the work that George Miller has done in these films, keep in mind, the last Mad Max film was 1985. That was 30 years ago. That was 30 goddamn years ago. So as much as I loved this film, and I did, at the beginning I wasn't certain. At the very beginning of the film, I found myself not accepting the world that they were building here. I found myself not believing in it. But that changed over the course of the film, and I found myself very invested in it. So, and that's a thing that George Miller has accomplished with all of these films. He has made this harsh, soulless world of his very believable. We accept it. We can see ourselves living in this world and believe what we're seeing. We can believe what we're experiencing in these films, and that's why they have persisted, and that's why they've been so popular, I think. Not because of the car chases, which are good. The second film, Road Warrior, by the way, is one of the best examples of modern filmmaking in history, I think. It's essentially a silent film. And I've been talking about that very thing as I've talked about 2001: A Space Odyssey and Under the Skin recently. Road Warrior belongs in that category. And then this film has come along, and it adds something else. It adds another hero. The problem with making more Mad Max films is that Max himself cannot develop as a character. He can't. He's a loner out in the desert, surviving on his own, who doesn't want to belong to any community or have any attachments, so he can't, by definition, develop. I mean, if you were going to have another Mad Max film in which Max has developed or has changed or grown as a character, you would have to show him very old with gray hair, with a missing eye or missing fingers or something, and he's become the leader of a small town that's built up around an oil derrick or something, which the people in Road Warrior tried to get him to do. And that may actually happen someday. But I think audiences would have trouble believing that, and they wouldn't accept it. And I think it would make a lot of people angry. So George Miller is stuck with the problem of making another Mad Max movie while adding something interesting, something that will hold an audience's attention. And this time he did it by adding a second hero, a co-hero. And this time it was a woman. He not only added a woman, he added women, lots of women. So this film includes not only participation by women, but it includes their perspectives as well. And that has angered a lot of people. Just the simple act of adding women to the film and including them as real characters has made people label this film a feminist film. Yeah, I don't have any problem calling this a feminist film, but you don't have to call it a feminist film if you don't want to. It's just a really good action-adventure film. And it happens to have women in it. And their stories are really good. And they are complex, important people. I found myself not only believing in this world and accepting this world, but becoming very invested in this world. And by the end of the film, I was clapping and laughing out loud, and there were even tears in my eyes. And that never happens to me. I don't do that at movies. I was also having to restrain myself, because this was a noon showing on opening day in Florida. So the theater was sold out, and it was packed with elderly people taking advantage of their AARP discounts. And they were not responsive. They were not reacting to the film at all. So as much as I wanted to be standing up and yelling and clapping out loud, I couldn't do it. This is one of the few times where I regret not having a local community of friends that I can go do these kind of things with. As you can tell, I'm recommending this movie. I'm recommending it wholeheartedly. I'm recommending it 100%. The only problems I would have with the film, and these are really small, these are nitpicking problems. Number one, there was too much CGI in the first half of the film. Again, really small problem. Number two, near the beginning of the film, there was too much unnecessary exposition. There were several scenes that had unnecessary talking in them where people were explaining the film to you. They were spoon-feeding you. The earlier films didn't do that. Again, really small nitpicking problems. Three, I felt like there was too much background music. In the previous films, during the car chases, there was nothing but car chase. There was the sounds of engines and explosions and yelling and screaming and no music. This one had the incessant, triumphant background music playing all the time, which I noticed and I didn't particularly like, but again, a nitpicky problem. The only real problem I have with this film, which is not a nitpicky problem, was Mad Max himself. Recasting him with another actor, I'm torn on this issue. I did not want to see Mel Gibson in this film. I don't ever want to see Mel Gibson again. I think a lot of people feel that way. I felt like if there's gonna be Max in another movie 30 years later, like I was saying before, he should have been graying. He should have been wrinkled. He should have been Bryan Cranston type as far as age goes. The guy they cast in here, I thought he had no charisma. I don't know who he is, by the way. He had no real presence. He had very little to add to the film. And honestly, this film could have been done without him altogether. It wouldn't have been a Mad Max film. This film could have been done as an unrelated film in the Mad Max universe. But everybody in the world would have been sitting there watching this movie thinking, this is an awful lot like a Mad Max movie. So having said all of that, I want to make the point again that I recommend this film wholeheartedly, 100%. We need to support excellent films like this. You need to see it. You need to recommend it to your friends. And it's another one of these smart movies that you need to pay attention to and actually watch. It's excellent cinema. And I hope George Miller makes more, and I'm sure he will. And I'll talk to you about it when that happens too. Bye. You can support 30 Second Sci-Fi and my other projects by becoming a patron. There is a link in the description below. And visit the 30 Second Sci-Fi Tumblr. That's my headquarters. In addition to my videos, I publish links and updates there every day. So I've not been seeing movies. I'm going to have to restart the microphone. That's the advantage of running the cameras on a battery.